I'm looking at the outlook for the global economy in 2011, and my mind goes to my verticals, consumer and manufacturing industry. When I look at my industry, I see the outlook as fairly positive. Look at retail industry. It's actually growing because of the online business and e-commerce, where consumers are more easily able to buy goods at lower prices, and this is leading to growth in the retail industries worldwide. The developing countries are new markets for new retail networks to be set up, and this is fueling further growth. If you look at the telecom industry, the use of smartphones, the use of new digital devices such as the iPad, such as the tablet, is fueling growth in this sector, and the increased use of broadband is enabling the same. Last year, we had 10 million tablets being sold by Apple. This year, we're looking at the total industry growth to come to 57 million. This is fabulous. We're seeing similar trends in the manufacturing industry, where because of the high technology products, new software which is being brought in, we're seeing growth in the electronics sector, we're seeing growth in the software vendors, and we're seeing high amount of export being done by countries like Germany, for example, in traditional industrial sectors, and in Britain as well. So manufacturing industry is back, and we are seeing growth led by export revenues. The challenge to a certain extent is in industries like media, where we are seeing growth in television and advertising, but we are seeing some kind of challenge and slowdown in the conventional media companies like publishing and newspaper. Overall, I think the growth will be stable, led by developing countries such as India, which are showing 8.5% growth, and countries such as China, which have sustained growth of 8%, and developed countries responding to it positively through stable growth of at least 3 to 4% this year. All of us realize and appreciate that we are living in an increasingly complex, interconnected world where there is a high amount of unpredictability. The challenge is, how do organizations become resilient to address these risks? Let's understand some of the risks which are there in our system. The first is inability of governments to manage their finances and debt efficiently. This can lead to uncertainties. The second point is really the fact that the entire global economy, the financial systems, the trade systems are highly interconnected. So whatever happens in one country can affect the other country very easily today. The most evident risk today in the financial markets is currency fluctuations. We have seen that over the last 2 years, that the dollar and euro as well as the yen have fluctuated very sharply. So how do organizations cope up to these kind of risks, and what kind of resilience do they create? I think one of the things that they can really do is to adopt IT to more proactively manage these risks, to have systems which can systematically give them the information at the right time to address such environmental challenges and such financial challenges. The other thing is that IT systems can give companies an ability to predict, to monitor changing customer needs and demands very quickly, so that they can actually tailor their production and supply systems to be more responsive to customer needs, and thereby avoid losses to their businesses because of such unpredictability. I think these are important factors which companies should consider in terms of addressing such risks. One of the biggest challenges in developing countries, as these developing countries become the growth centers in the world, is the challenge to businesses and organizations working in these developing countries to change their business model and to respond more effectively to the changing needs of society in these developing countries. So what can businesses do more in developing countries? First thing is, if I look at my verticals and my industries which I cater to, particularly the consumer manufacturing sector, I feel the most important thing corporates and organizations who are involved in these industries should do is to create more efficient production and supply systems, to enable them to distribute goods and services to the less developed sections of society, to remote corners of the country, so that all sections of society can avail their goods at a uniform price and have access to the services that they are providing. The second most important thing that these companies in developing countries should do is to become more socially responsible. More responsible and responsive to the needs of the society in terms of health, education, environment, and contribute to improving the living standards in these countries by giving more to society. In all these aspects, one of the most important factors would be the growth of telecommunication and the use of telecommunication and IT to reach out to the remote parts of the country, to remote parts of these developing societies, and create newer markets, better access to exchanges, to food chains, to supply systems, and improve and streamline efficiencies in transportation, utilities, and infrastructure sector. This will fuel more balanced growth in developing countries, and the organizations who operate in these countries will also benefit because of this growth. I think we live in a world which is becoming increasingly diverse and independent in its thinking. The governments are becoming more independent and they have to address diverse needs. At the same time, there is a need for common norms that the society as a whole can follow to improve the living standards of its people. Some of these common norms could be, in my view, first, commitment to a global monetary, financial, and trade system which is fair, equitable, and efficient. I think this is critical for a stable economic growth in the world in the coming years. The second most important norm, I think, is to create an environment which is cleaner, greener, and all organizations and governments world over should subscribe to some minimum standards which can help us to create a greener and cleaner environment and enforce them. I think the third most important aspect is building trust and transparency in public systems, in governance, so that citizens can avail services at costs and prices and which are equitable. This can be enabled through the use of IT. This can be enabled through the use of information systems. And Right to Information Act, for example, which has been recently enacted in India, is a good example of how this can be done. The fourth most important aspect is really commitment to norms which can lead to balanced growth of societies, be it commitment to health, be it commitment to education, and be it commitment to environment. In all these aspects, IT can play a very important enabling role. Communication can play a very important enabling role in creating today a society which is balanced and which has underpinnings of sustainable growth. I guess one aspect which is concerning most organizations today is how to convert sustainability into competitive advantage. In my view, companies can do three things. First, they can be pioneers and leaders in catering to the new market needs created by sustainability. So they can develop products and services faster, they can invest in new and cleaner technologies, they can bring out more energy efficient systems, they can bring out alternative sources of energy, they can bring out greener products. This will give them a competitive advantage if they speed up their effort in bringing out such products and services. Second, companies can look at sustainability as part of their overall long-term corporate plan. So such companies can be proactive and can have a game plan which can be superior compared to companies which are reactive. Third, companies can be more collaborative with the ICT sector and use IT and communication more intelligently in bringing out such services and such products faster to the market and also at a lower cost. I think this can be a huge advantage to most organizations.